Hey guys, today we are practicing division. We're going to be using the big 7 and long division. I know that some of y'all are super comfortable with long division, and that's totally fine if you keep using that. Some of us are primarily still using the big 7, which is totally fine. I will challenge you with the practice today that you stretch your brain and give long division a chance. I know this is what your family has likely grown up with, solving division problems with the long division method. So I say give it a chance, give it a try. The other thing I need to tell you, I recommend you pause the video, solve it, check it with me, or you can work along with me. That is fine as well. So without any further ado, we're going to practice. Before we do that, though, let's talk about the parts of division. So we have we're looking for our quotient. That is the answer. So the answer is the quotient, and there's a quotient, and if there's any left over, that's the remainder, because we're making equal groups of 8 with a certain amount, with 270, and I'm making groups of 8. I'm trying to find out how many groups. And if any of them are left over and they're not in equal groups, that's what is remaining, and that's that remainder. So what I have my divisor, which is what I'm dividing by. And one way to remember that is saying divisor, divider. That is the divider of it. That is what you're using to divide your dividend. So that's your dividend. And sometimes I like to think of dividend, like you're making a dent in your total and you're taking away from it. So our dividend, or if it helps you remember, dividend, so that you can remember what that is. Okay. So we're going to start with the big 7. Big 7 is kind of foreign to probably your parents. They've helped you with it, so I'm sure they're comfortable with it now. But it's not how we learned it, so it took me a little bit to get my brain around it. I'm going to start with my 7, and then I like to do my bank of knowledge. When you watch other videos of the big 7, they don't always call it a bank of knowledge. They don't always do this. This is just something I find that helps your brain out a little bit, and it helps you think of equal groups. So I know that if I make 2 groups of 8, that's going to be 16. If I make 5 groups of 8, that is going to be 40. And if I make 10 groups of 8, that is going to be 80. Well, these are kind of small compared to this. I'm going to also think of some larger groups. So 8 times 20, okay, like 2 times 10 would be 20. So 8 times 20 is going to be 160. We're getting a little closer to this amount here. My next one is 8 times 50. That's going to be 400. I don't have 400. I only have 270. So this is too much. I'm going to put a line through that so that I know I'm not going to waste a lot of time with that one. That tells me that my answer is going to be less than 50, but more than 20. So already I'm kind of checking as I go. So I'm going to go ahead and make 20 groups of 8. So this is a partial quotient. I was able to make 20 equal groups, but I'm still going to have some left over. So that's 160. Then I can subtract. I have 110 left. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and look here what I have. I cannot make another 20 groups because that's 160. I only have 110. But I can make 10 groups easily. Now, are you stuck with just using these numbers in your bank of knowledge? Absolutely not. Your bank of knowledge is what you know. So if you have other math facts that you want to put in here that will help you out, you can do that. I'm just using these because they're easy for my brain. So you pick some numbers that are easy for your brain, and it can make this process go smoothly. Okay, so I'm going to make 10 groups of 8, and that's going to be 80. Then I'm going to subtract, and then 11 minus 8 is 3, so then I have 30 left. All right, so I have 20 and 10 groups. So I need to make, let's see here, I cannot make 5. That's going to be too many. So I could go to my facts. That's one way you could solve this. I'm going to pretend that I've spaced out on my math facts with 8s, and I'm just going to use what's in my bank of knowledge. 8 times 2 is 16. I'm going to subtract that. Then I have 14 left over. Well, I can only make one more group. So 8 times 1 is going to be 8. And then we're just going to, that's going to be 6 left over. So once I have all of my partial quotients, I'm going to add all of these up. 10 and 20 is 30, 32, 33. With 6 left over, I can't make any more groups of 8, so that's a remainder of 6. Okay, on to the long division. I put these letters up here. They represent divide, multiply, subtract, bring down. C is compare, and then R is either restart or remainder. And so this just kind of helps us remember the process, and you guys might be so comfortable with this that you don't need the DS and DMSBCR. There is a way, there's a mnemonic to help you remember this: daddy, mother, sister, brother, and then cat, rat. The parentheses here with the CR is kind of a new thing. A lot of people just do DMSB, and that's fine. But then the CR is just a little extra something if you want to remember those steps too. So one other thing I want you to remember is if you have 3 digits here, you want to make sure you have 3 digits up top too. Not all of the digits have to have a value. That just reminds you that you're not finished until you have divided every number in your problem. And when you are doing long division, it is easy to make a mistake with that. We'll talk a little bit about that too. The other thing about long division is you really want to make sure you know your 8s really well and are pretty comfortable with them. And if you don't, take a moment. It's worth taking a moment to do your multiples of 8, because it just helps your brain out when you're looking at groups of 8. So 8, 16, 24, 32, 40, 48, 56, 64, 72, and 80. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, that's 10. So I have my multiples of 8 all the way to 10. Then I'm ready to begin. So I'm going to start out here. So I have 2 hundreds. Can I make 8 groups, or a group of 8 100s? I cannot. There's only 2 of them. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 0 there. And then I'm going to go ahead and move on and say 27. And really, like, this means 27 tens. And I can make groups of 8 with 27. So I can look over here. This can help me. How many groups can I make? Well, I can make 3. 4 would be too many. So I have to put my 3 up here. And then so I'm dividing 27 tens by 3. And I can just cover that up to help me out a little bit. And then I can multiply 3 times 8, and I get 24. Then I'm ready to subtract. And then I get 3. This is where the order, this is a little funny. It's really important to compare. Is your 3 less than your divisor? Is your whatever you subtract less than your divisor? That's important. If this number is bigger than your divisor or equal to it, then there's something wrong here, and you need to come back and find something that works. So if I had subtracted 16, if I said 2, I put a 16 here, we would get a number larger than 8. And that would mean that we didn't make the most number of groups that we can make. So anyway, that's just really, really important that we compare. So I've compared, and then I'm ready to bring down. So I have something to bring down, so I'm going to bring down that 0. Then I have 30. Now, if you take a look at this, we did the same. We kind of did the same, well, it's something similar. So we did our 3, that's really a 30 because it's in the tens place. But we just broke that up with a group of 20 and a group of 10 eighths. So those together, and once we subtracted those, we ended up with 30. So we're on the right track because we ended up with 30 here. Okay, so how many do we have left? We can make another group of 3 because I don't have enough to make a group of 4. So 1, 2, 3, put that up here. 3 times 8 is 24. Bring down and then restart. I did that. Okay, so it's time to divide again. And then we multiply 3. There we go. Then we subtract and we get 6. And sure enough, it matches what we have here. Can we make any more groups of 8? We cannot. So we leave that as a remainder. And that also helps us remember, okay, we filled out all the spots above. If we had started the 3 over here, we might accidentally keep going, and that would give us the wrong answer. So it is also important to make sure you put the zeros where you need to put them. It just kind of helps you follow your flow. Big 7 is a little more forgiving. It's easier to make mistakes unless you're comfortable with the process. That's why I teach both. But truthfully, this is faster, and this is probably how you'll want to, if you haven't transitioned yet, you'll want to solve it using the long division method in the future. Okay, next one. So you'll notice the dividends quite a bit bigger, and we're going to talk about that. We're going to need a little more room for this too. Here's my 7. I'm going to first solve this with the big 7. I'm going to start with what I know. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 5 is 15. 3 times 10 is 30. And we can see these numbers are quite a bit smaller. I'm going to put a line here, and I don't want to take up this whole room. So I'm going to go ahead and say the 3 times. I'm just going to kind of like put the 3 times up here. 20, 50, and 100. Just so I can save a little space, so I don't completely take up the whole room here. So 3 times 20 is 60. 3 times 50 is 150. And then 3 times 100 is 300. And if you look at it, it's still kind of small. If I had to subtract 300, 300, 300, it would take a while, be very long. So let's see if I can get even closer. So the next one, so 220, 3 times 200 is going to be 600. 3 times 500, we're getting closer now. 1,500, here we go, we're getting somewhere now. And then 3 times 1,000 is going to be 3,000. Okay, so 3,000 is quite a bit too much. So I'm going to go ahead and cross that out. 3 times 500, though, that would give me 1,500, and that is a good place for me to start. So I'm going to go ahead and say, okay, I'm going to make 500 groups of 3. And once I do that, I'm going to use up 1,500 of the amount that I have. And so once I do that, I have 322 left. All right. One thing I did also forget to mention. So if 1,000 is too much, 500 is too little, we know our answer is going to be somewhere between 500 and 1,000. So that'll let us know what our answer is going to kind of be. Okay, so I have 322 left. Well, look here. I use this. I have 300 here, and I've got 322 left. So I'm going to go ahead and circle that. I'm going to go ahead and make 100 groups of 3, and so I'm going to use 300. Okay, so I've used up 600. I've made 600 groups so far. I have 21 left. Some of you guys might be saying, Ms. Perkins, I see a pattern here. I know exactly what to do my next group. That's totally cool if you do. You can solve this how you like. I'm going to go ahead and use what I have in the bank of knowledge. I'm going to go ahead and say, well, I definitely know I can make 5 more groups. 5 more groups. Sorry, my cat keeps trying to make a debut. Cat, come on, cat. There we go. And then we have 7 left. Well, that's easy. That means I can make 2 more groups. 3 times 2 is 6. Subtract, that means I'm left with 1 left over. So I have 500, 600, 605, 607, remainder 1. So don't forget your remainder down here too. You can write it up here. And that's your answer. Okay. Let's go ahead and check our work with the with long division. I'm going to go ahead and do my 3s out here. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, 21, 24, 27, 30, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Good. I've got my 3s all the way to 10. I'm going to go ahead and do the DMSBCR. And I'm also going to put my place value position so that I don't accidentally skip a place and make a mistake. Also, if you find that you start you can also draw lines in between to kind of keep you in line, or use grid paper. That is also helpful. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and start here. I'm going to look at, I have 1,000 here, and can I make a group of 3,000? I cannot, so I cannot make any groupings of 1,000. So I'm going to put a 0 here. Sure enough, that matches with what we have here. We don't have any groupings of 1,000. The highest we go is 600. So far we're on our right track. But I can go ahead and say, well, I can have 1,800s, and I can make groupings of 3 with 1,800s. So I'm going to use this. Let's see here. I can say make 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 groups. So I'm dividing here. I'm going to put a 6 there. Now I'm ready to multiply. 6 times 3 is 18. Now I'm ready to subtract, and I get 0. I'm going to compare real fast. 0 is less than 3. I'm on the right track. I'm ready to bring down, and I'm ready to restart. Okay, so now I'm going to start over. It's time to divide. Can I make any groups of 3 with this 2? I cannot. So I have to say I cannot make any groupings of 10. I only have 2 10s available. Can't do it. So I'm going to have to divide again. This time I'm going to scoot over and say, well, 22. Okay. Now can I make groupings? Yes, I can. So I can, once I do that, because I was not able to make any groupings with the 10, I have to put a 0 there. It's really easy to skip that and get a wrong answer. But you need to make sure you skip it, and then you can bring down the other number, and then we can multiply. Okay, so I can go back to here. How many groups can I make? Well, 21 is here. 24 is too much, so that is 7 groups of 3. Put your 7 there in the ones place. 3 times 7 is 21. So I multiplied. Now I'm ready to subtract. I get 1 left over. I don't have anything else to bring down. I'm comparing, and that's fine. And then that is my remainder. So remainder. So 607, remainder 1. And that is the same answer we got over here. Okay, good deal. One more that we're going to solve both ways. This number, as you can see, the dividend is getting a little bit bigger. Okay. So our bank of knowledge is going to go across. I'm going to try to do this very quickly. 7, 2, 5, 10, 14, 35, and 70. And then kind of like before, I'm just going to say 20, 50, 100. So 140, 35, and then 700. 700, it's getting closer, but it's still kind of far. We need to keep going. 200, 500. So this is, remember, these are all 7 times. And then 1,000. Okay. So 7 times 200 is 1,400. Oh, we're getting somewhere now. 7 times 500 is 3,500. That is a little bit too much. We know it's not going to be this. And we know it has to be less than 500 because 500 sevens is 3,500. I don't have enough. So we know the answer has to be less than 500. Okay. So now we're ready to roll. So I'm going to start with 200 groups of 7. So 7 times 200 is 1,400. You might be saying now, Ms. Perkins, I can see another number we could make a group of, and we could subtract, and it would be faster. Are you allowed to do that? Absolutely. I'm just going to use the bank of knowledge as is so you can see how that works too. Okay, but truly, your groupings, this is what you know. So if you recognize another groupings of 7 that you like better, it makes it faster, use it. Totally works. Okay, so that's 1,400. I'm going to subtract it. $1,895. I can take away another group of 200. It's going to be take away another 1,400. And I'm left with 495. All right, so I go back to my list. I cannot make a group of 100, but I can make a group of 50 because that takes me to 350. Uses up 350, and I have 495 left. So I'm going to go ahead and do 7 times 50, 350, subtract 145. Okay, we're getting somewhere, slowly but surely. Oh, 140 is right here. I can make a group of 20. 7 times 20, 140. All right, and can I make any more groups of 7? I can't because I'm stuck with 5. So then I've got to add all my partial quotients up. 200, 200 is 400, 450, 470, then 5 left over. So 470, remainder 5. All right. So this can be tricky for a reason when we do it this way. So if you, either way is fine. Let's go ahead and I'm going to put my 7s out here on the side just so that I can reference them. 21, 28, 35, 42, 49, 56, 63, and 70. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Yep, I have them all. Okay. All right. This video is getting long, so if I stop, I'll try to keep checking along with this. But truthfully, once you are really comfortable with this, you don't even have to use this. This is just a way to kind of check your progress as you go. So if I end up trying to rush this video and cut this part out because it's already quite long, I might just kind of fly through and do that. All right, so I'm going to compare. I have 3,000. 3,000s. I don't have enough to make 7,000, right? So I have to put a 0 up here. So then I'm going to go ahead and look at it as 32. So it's 32 hundreds. Well, I can make groups. I cannot make that many, but I can make 1, 2, 3, 4. I can make 4 of those groups. So I'm going to put that 4 up here. So that's my divide. 7 times 4 is 28. And really, we're saying 2,800 because this is really 400. It's in the hundreds place. Anyway, you don't have to think about that because this helps your brain, okay? Then once we do that, we're ready to subtract. All right, and so we have 4. And if you notice here, 4, we took away. So 28, 1,400, 1,400. If you add those up, it would have been 2,800. So it matches. We're kind of doing the right thing. And then we were left with 495. Well, technically, if we were to bring those down, it'd be 495. So we're on the right track. Okay, so it's time to bring down. I'm going to bring down that 9. So we're going to have 49 here. Now, again, I didn't compare first. I should have done that. 4 is less than 7, so I'm on the right track. And then it's time bring down, and then it's time to restart. Okay, now I'm ready to divide again. I'm going to use this to help me. There's 49. Oh, look, there's 49 over here. So how many groups is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So I'm going to put my 7 here in the tens place. 7 times 7 is 49. Really know it's 490, but that's okay. So I've divided, multiplied. It's time to subtract. Get 0. Compare, it's less, yes, okay. And then it's time to bring down. And then I have bring down, and I have 5 left. Do I have anything else to bring down? I don't. Is 5 less than 7? Yes, so I cannot make any more groups. Do I have to put something here? I absolutely do, because I cannot break down I can't make any groups of 7 with my 1s, and I only have 5 1s left. So I have to put a 0 here. So here's sometimes what we want to do is we want to slide that 5 up here, but that would be, we're not making 5 more groups of 7. That would be incorrect. So we are making 470 groups of 7, and then we had 5 left over after we made our groups. So I wanted to practice that. When you're doing long division, it is easy to make some mistakes when you've got zeros in your quotient. So if you make your dashes, and if you're really careful, you make your multiplication, your skip counting, it will make it easier, and it'll keep you from making mistakes. If you find that you make a lot of mistakes this way, you can always come back, do your big 7, and then check your big 7 with this. Boys and girls, division is just one of those things. It's like a muscle. We just have to practice so that we can get better, and keep practicing so that you don't forget, because it's easy to forget some of these steps and these processes. Thank you so much for following along. Reach out if you have questions. Y'all are going to do fantastic. I'm so proud of all of the hard work y'all have been doing this year, and I will catch you later. Bye. So guys, I was going to teach y'all about some division, but Minky had other plans. Minky, do you want to teach the kids about division this morning? Is that something you want to do? Do you want to do that? Teach the kids about division? Uh-oh. All right, well, let's give this another try.